Welcome to the Shelby County Board of Education, June 18th, 2024 work session. Welcome back, Chief Burrows. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hugh Garcia.
Present.
Commissioner Woods.
Here.
Commissioner Love.
Here.
Commissioner Calvo.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Williams. Chair Green.
Present.
Commissioner Coleman. You have 8 members present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for 1 moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The question is now on the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments, Dr. Fagans?
Madam Chair, we are removing item number 9.27.
Thank you. There being no additional amendments to the agenda, is there a motion for the approval of the agenda and a second? Thank you. Motion from Vice Chair Coleman, second from Commissioner Love. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hugh Garcia.
I'm sorry, why were we removing that item?
For council to have an additional look, it's a contract. For general counsel to take an additional look.
So, will it be ready for next week?
We can have it ready for you next week.
Okay, thank you. Aye.
Commissioner Woods.
Aye.
Commissioner Love.
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Calvo.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Board Chair Green.
Aye.
You have 8 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. I want to say on the chair report tonight, just want to say thank you to my colleagues. We really have appreciated your heart and your hard work. Thank you for those who came when we met with the governor on last week. We had a wonderful time at Superintendent Fagan and Board Commissioner Johnson led us at Winchester on a wonderful and awesome tour. And we just want to say thank you. And thank you to those parents of those 10,000 children who are in the summer learning program. Thank you for trusting us with your wonderful babies. We're off to a great start this summer. Board Member Calvo, you have a question?
Madam Chair, just when you're finished with your report. Are you done?
I'm finished, yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your kind words. We all have received multiple emails and phone calls from employees who have been potentially going to be impacted by the realignment and the budget. And at this point, with your permission, I would like to ask our General Counsel to give an explanation on the record for all stakeholders to understand what the WARN Act means, what these letters mean, what they don't mean. So in my opinion, the public deserves to know the context and a better explanation of what these letters are.
Okay, thank you. Let me translate that a little bit. Your question is, you would like for General Counsel to give us an understanding of what the WARN Act is, why it was necessary for it to go out last night, so that our employees will have a sign of relief. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Calvo and Madam Chairwoman. As we discussed during the discussions about the resolution last week and other discussions that we've had, it was the administration had an obligation to send out a notice pursuant to the WARN Act, which is a federal statute and regulation that requires 60-day notice to employees in the event of an anticipated plant closing, mass layoff, things of that nature. Here, obviously, as we are moving towards an anticipated reduction in force, it was necessary to get these out in a timely manner, and there's a 60-day window in which employees need to be notified. So we needed to get these notices out to comply with our statutory and regulatory obligations, and we did that. and that notice is required to provide certain information when the anticipated reductions are expected to start, what roles are expected to be impacted, what the address of the site, the anticipated sites that will be impacted. And so those letters were intended, and I think that they did provide notice to those potentially impacted by the proposed plan and reduction. And so not only out of obligation, but in fairness to those who we anticipate could be impacted, we wanted to make sure that we gave timely notice. Again, as we discussed prior, pursuant to the WARN Act. So those were ultimately the ultimate decision on the positions, the dismissals that will take place rests with the board. The board will make that determination as to what final positions are eliminated. But we did feel the need to get those notices out timely, and that's what we did.
Thank you. Are you clear, Commissioner Calvo?
I am. I have one question, but I wonder if anybody else has a question.
Go on, ask your,
Go ahead,
ask,
Mr. Williams.
ask your question.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Well, so just to be clear, a termination letter and a warrant notice are two different things.
That's correct. The termination notice will come from the board after the board votes on the final dismissals. And the WARN Act, again, was a notice from the administration notifying the potentially impacted employees of the anticipated reduction.
Okay, thank you.
So we want to be clear for the listening public. A number of you had concerns about that, and you interpret that as we thought the board said to stop, and not what we asked was done, but the warn letter by law had to be sent just in case those jobs will be impacted. And so I think our general counsel just did an outstanding job. And since I'm doing commercials tonight, just know jobs posted at 5 p.m. today. We say to those who are listening to us and to those who are present, please feel free to go to Mscs. .com.org, and you'll find that we posted jobs today. Thank you, Superintendent Fagan, for just a great meeting yesterday as you did your one-on-one to walk me through and to help me to have an understanding of how when we save as a district, we are able to allocate more funding for classroom teachers to have every resource they need to be successful this school year. Thank you. Commissioner Williams? And Commissioner Johnson.
How would you assume then if I did not receive a letter that my job is
Microphone.
safe?
Take it right.
Am I to assume that if I did not receive a letter informing me that there's a possibility of me being laid off or fired or whatever, that I'm safe?
Thank you, Commissioner Williams, for the question, for the clarifying question. If you to assume if you did not receive a WARN Act notice or a noticed act last night, or is your job safe? I think that the answer to that is yes. That the individuals who received those notices are seated in or assigned to the respective positions that are being proposed to the board for reduction.
In the letter of being notified, was there a salary attached to that in that letter? Was there any reduction in pay?
Your mic is off, but just to help the general public hear your question you're asking, in that particular letter sent last night,
Yes.
Was there a salary listed in there? And the answer to that is no, no salaries were listed. This particular notification was just to notice the individuals that the district is walking through a reduction in particular positions, and this particular position is being proposed to the board for consideration.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Johnson, he asked your question. All right, thank you. We're now on Commissioner Woods, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the clarification, General Counsel. That was much appreciated. And Dr. Fagan, the only thing I would signal, again, with technology, just making sure that if I was an ESSER-funded position or if I'm sitting amongst a team that I know is anticipated to be part of the Riff, you may ought to contact HR or some manager in case it got lost in spam or that notification didn't receive. I don't want to signal, and I know that wasn't the superintendent's intent, that your failure to turn off your spam blocker is an indication that you are somehow not being impacted. And again, to our general counsel's point, until the board ultimately approves this list, this was just a notice. But ultimately, I didn't want to signal that, hey, just because you didn't see an email, you still want to ask questions, and I think the team is ready to answer those questions. Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
So follow up on Commissioner Woods. Madam Superintendent, do people just get an email? Do we actually get a physical letter or a conversation with the supervisor? I don't want somebody to say, oh, I didn't get an email. And second, do people clearly know if these jobs actually are caught? Where do they need to go? Do we have a dedicated department helping them?
These are great questions, and certainly leading into the report, I'll continue to answer them. But to directly answer your question, individuals received the WARN Act notice because it was required by law to respect and honor the resolution, the pause that is connected to it. The conversations have not continued, and so once those conversations can continue on the other side of an anticipated approved budget, then we can have the conversations with the remaining individuals who did not receive the notification beforehand. Okay. All right. So good evening, everyone. Just want to share a few updates, and then I'll walk through budget specific, how we got here, and certainly had some healthy conversations with board commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to walk through it again and ensure clarity is received where necessary. I do believe that we're there, and we'll explore some more tonight. But I'll first start off by saying Summer Learning Academy, as the chair mentioned, going well. More than half of the students who signed up have been, showing up, which is important. Had the opportunity to visit Dunbar Elementary today, so hello to Sergio and my little friends over there who walked me through some math. If you haven't done multiplication in a while, you start to reconsider some things, and so it was good to be in the room with our youngest leaders to remind us why we do this work and why these conversations are so necessary. Thank you to the teachers who are showing up and all of the staff who are committed. We are certainly aware of the opportunity to strengthen our custodial services and what that work looks like, and we are having those conversations as necessary as we value all of our employees and want to ensure that the work there is given the attention that it needs, certainly for the cleaning that is necessary for the summer, but most importantly, as we think about opening schools, and I know teachers don't want to hear that, it's too soon to talk about starting back, but thinking about the type of deep cleaning that is necessary. So I want to raise the attention that I'm aware. We did do advance payment to Fresh Start to ensure that the employees could be paid, and so looking forward to receiving at the end of today a 100% confirmation that all employees have received their compensation. Encourage everyone, community partners, all of our constituents and supporters to save the date for July 10th. Probably feels like more than 100 days, but we're not there yet. We're just over 60, but 100 days is coming up, and July 10th at 6 p.m. We'll announce the location soon, and that will be open to the public. But the transition report, excited to receive the actual report from the team, finalizing those recommendations and being able to take a look at it with the senior leadership and make a strong proposal for our strategic plan to the board for consideration and review as we think about the work ahead. Again, that's July 10th at 6 p.m. Next, I want to invite alumni from Fraser High School and MLK Prepped. A last look is available for your school this weekend. We're opening the doors this Saturday, June 22nd. That's from 10 a.m. until noon. You can RSVP at tinyurl.com/Fraser School Tour. Again, that's a last look as we take steps forward there, 10 a.m. till noon. Certainly, the conversations about budget continue. We're deep into budget season, certainly inching our way to the finish line. And so I want to express my sincere thanks to the community for their outreach, for your recommendations, for your increased support as we look forward to working with the board to finalize our 2024-2025 school year strategies and certainly the investments and commitments that are attached to it. It's inspiring to see so many of you come on Thursday, and certainly here in the boardroom and joining us virtually again today. And so thank you. Your engagement in this process is deeply appreciated, and it is equally important that you know what is taking place, what's at stake, and also what the intentions are for taxpayer dollars, but certainly the work as we see it moving forward. And so in closing, I just want to remind families of our Ready, Set, Read program, which was envisioned by Chair Green. This virtual reading series features authors and figures who call or have called Memphis home. New episodes, you can catch them on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. all summer long on the district's YouTube channel. That's SCS K-12 Unified. Literacy, you know it is critical to our success. And so whether students are in school or out, they should never take a break from strengthening their reading skills. And as I've shared, we plan to read and write every day, in every class, in every campus. And so just a quick review how we got here and what some of those commitments are. Of course, this work started before me as early as November of last year, where the team began to explore different positions and areas that we can streamline some of our services and certainly reallocate some of our funds to push that either closer to, if not directly into the classroom. And so over the course of some months, conversations taken place, deeper exploration, and then a slight pause as we transition to become superintendent. Reconvening those conversations, taking a look at the recommendations that were provided to me, and then ultimately pausing some of the moves that had been made before my arrival, asking the team to pause there. I reviewed line by line names of positions, and then ultimately having conversations with managers and direct supervisors, certainly senior leadership, and in many regards, the employees themselves directly. Utilized a rubric that included flexibility of the role, included a cost analysis benefit, the impact to the budget itself, the number of direct reports to each position. I considered the number of positions. I considered the actual responsibility of the role. I considered the inclusion of the role in the future vision for the district, and certainly considered school board commissioners' general conversations since February moving forward, the ask, the recommendations, and strong considerations, and certainly the feedback from the community. And so we've arrived at this particular commitment in several areas, and I want to continue to emphasize that just because you don't hear it articulated in the budget does not mean that it is not work that we are focused on. The work that we have underscored here is in some ways new, or in some ways a deep expansion of what exists, and then in other ways it is a reshifting or repurposing of some of our resources. And so literacy, you know, is one of our number one priorities and commitments. This continues to build on the board's, one of the board's strategic priorities prior to my arrival. As we firm up what the priorities will be for the upcoming year, we know that this will not go away. And so what you see here I've already presented, but we're looking at over $20 million. We've committed to keeping our specialized education assistants and just really refining that work and ensuring that it is very targeted and monitored so that the results that we anticipate can actually be experienced on the other side of it. And then you see our literacy coaches. Those I want to highlight, those of you who have a title of instructional facilitator or highly specialized reading advisor, senior reading advisor, instructional curriculum coach, and I think there are a few other titles. What we're looking at here is just streamlining all of that to become what you should see on the website by 5 p.m., which you should see it now. As just general instructional coach. So we look forward to supporting the way forward there, but anywhere there was a title change, then we simply posted the position. So just want to give that clarity to those individuals who have led and done great work. We look forward to working with you in that particular capacity as well, should your interest remain in this role as it exists moving forward. Math. You want to ask something there? Yeah, absolutely.
Clarifying question. Sure. The senior reading advisors, they have not been eliminated, just their title change.
So it's a both and. When we change the title, then that particular position as it currently exists is impacted. The individuals have the opportunity to apply for the new role, which is instructional coach. Where I wanted to just directly place them, I wanted to honor that direct placements were not the actual appetite, if you will. And so where we wanted to just shift those 104 directly into the role, now it is open, and we look forward to giving those individuals first opportunity at that particular position.
You may want to clarify that with them.
Yes, as soon as the board approves the budget and we get off of the pause, they'll look forward to having all of these healthy conversations to keep our valued employees and the new vision moving forward. And so as soon as you say yes, then we can move forward with that conversation. Additional questions on this
It only
one?
took you like 3 minutes to remind us of that.
That's right. That's right. We keep the main thing the main thing. Additional questions about that particular slide? No? Okay, math literacy. Keeping with the focus on literacy, we want to underscore that math literacy is equally as important. And so what you see here is nearly $1.8 million investment. And certainly these are math coaches as well, still falling in that instructional coach position, if you will, where we will emphasize and double down on our efforts. We'll double block courses, and the team met with principals today to ensure a lot of this work is being focused on as we think about the actual strategies that it takes to move it forward. That's looking at individual students who have not met the bar in grade 6, and then specifically in Algebra 1. One of our additional investments, certainly you've heard me say that investments in infrastructure is an investment in student achievement. And so our 209 facilities, we've broken it down by phases. Phase 1 being about $96 million across 56 spaces, prioritizing HVAC replacements, window replacements, LED lighting in some spaces on some of our athletic camp or fields and spaces, additional roof replacements. This is just phase 1 as we think about an overarching comprehensive facilities master plan that we will begin the work on, where each building will be able to see what the investment could look like on the other side of conversations with board commissioners as we think about being in the community and hearing directly from you. So this particular investment here is phase 1 with $96.7 million.
I have 2 comments. First, if we had had the position description or body of work that would be transferring in the way that we just had that, we would have a lot more clarity. So we did pause so that we did know where human capital was going to be going. That was not clear a week ago. 2, as we go through these slides, we have position counts and changes and that are slated for new roles. It would be helpful if you could provide a narrative with positions that go along with some of these big strategies. So for example, the literacy coaches, many of the people who have a title change or a role change actually will now have a job that they will be able to apply for that applies to math literacy, et cetera. Like sort of bringing us along on what staffing changes look like for each of these, sort of reimagining how we support schools. And then last, I know we got a facilities and capital update last night. Could you share how that impacts our budget from the county commission?
So one clarification, I'm not understanding your request for the positions. So if you could walk through that, that could be here or offline. But I can share last night or early in the AM, the Shelby County Commission did approve their budget, and it included in there just over $5.5 million for our deferred maintenance. I think you can see $96.7 million when we receive that $5.5 million, how that could support this work here.
Are there a large number of positions that are associated with some of the strategies that you have on the screen? As an example, you just named 5 positions that are all going to be now general instructional coaches that we plan to put in the literacy coach role. If there are sweeping sort of staffing realignments that are associated with some of these investments, can you share that as we go along? That may not be true for math literacy, but I imagine like when we get to family engagement specialists and our soup school supports, who are going to those attendance clerks, who are going to be graduation coaches? Are there big positions that we have had an equivalent position in mind?
Your question for understanding is if there's a current role and we are now repurposing it for a current role or a new role, for
Yes.
lack of better words, could I detail that here today?
Yes, that
Yeah,
would
so
be
we could
helpful.
go that didn't exist because we were just direct placing.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Fagan, I'm sorry, Board Chair should be recognized first. So I don't want, I know you're going to go through your slides, and we'll hopefully have a conversation about the budget and ask questions, but I just want to lift this slide here because this is an unprecedented number. Board members, this is the spreadsheets we would see month after month. Doesn't change. Look, we're going to give our flowers when they're due, and to bring if this board approves $96 million in a budget of capital improvement, when we've averaged about 2.5 million over the last 2 years from the county commission, we're basically saying we're willing to carry that load because we can't keep kicking the can with leaking roofs, outdated HVACs, and sports fields that our schools have been longing for. So yes, we will continue to have the conversations. We'll continue to talk about the operational and academic gaps that may be impacted by any reduction in force. But this is a big deal, colleagues. This is a huge deal and should be applauded by you as well as the superintendent for finding $96 million in the general fund to address these things that we've only talked about for the last decade. So I think it should be applauded. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Yeah, and I echo that. That's amazing that we're doing this. But last night we found out that we're getting 5 of these 96. So, right, correct? Am I correct? We're getting out of 5.5 out of 96 and not change. So again, I do like the slides, but it would be useful to see how all of these initiatives are impacting other things, like the other $91 million, where are they coming from, and what are we doing or not doing because those $91 million are being transferred to capital improvements. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to say we're spending $91 million. Like, okay.
Help me out, Commissioner
Sure.
Calvo. What's the question? You want to know how the 5, I mean, I get it, but
I know where the 5 came from.
how does that impact the 91? So when we think about budget, we think about those things already, right? If we don't get the $91 million or the 96 total, we still know as fiscally responsible leaders that we have a need here that has to be met. So that's built into the budget.
I understand that.
So what is at stake as a result thereof?
So we saw this number before, and only last night we found out that it was 5, right? So what was your anticipated? Well, how much were you thinking you were going to get?
I think the better clarity is that the 96 million was built into our budget. With an understanding, we may get 0 because that was the initial presentation by the mayor to give us $0 in deferred maintenance for the next 10 years. And so they revisited and arrived at the just over 5.5 million. But with or without consideration of that, we built this into the budget because this need exists.
Okay. No, I totally agree.
So that's not at the expense of the literacy coaches or the graduation coaches or the family engagement liaisons or the transformation office or any of the other investments that you see. Those all go together.
Okay, I'll follow up on that. Can we get another copy of the handout, number 1? I know we've seen one before. I don't have one here.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I would like to see an itemized district plan of the $5.5 million next month.
That will be very easy, Commissioner Love, to provide that to you. Where that 5.5 million, I can send it tonight.
Yeah.
Where that could be used, I can share with you. We have very few projects that we can actually meet with that number. But I want to say that we are grateful for what we're receiving. It's just we have such a massive need. And so that could be a window replacement at one of the schools. So I can send that, and you could choose which one because we have that many. So on that list that we provided, that handout, you could just choose where you want the $5.5 million to go.
Reason why I asked, because we approved a roof replacement at Keystone Elementary. It hasn't been done yet.
At which school? Keystone?
Yeah.
I can take a look to see if it's already a project that's in place internally, or if it's one that's identified on the 56. I'd have to take a look at that.
It hasn't been done yet.
No, I mean, it may be in progress. So we have internal projects that are already in place that the team is working through, and then we have this $96 million across 56 spaces that hasn't started. So I can see where it is.
And Raleigh Egypt Elementary School was supposed to be getting a new HVAC system this summer. And that's the reason they didn't have summer school. No work is, to this day, no work is started yet.
Raleigh Egypt Elementary HVAC replacement. Got it. You'll have an update before we leave this evening.
Thank you.
You got it. The Keystone roof design is in progress. I think you were asking about window replacement. There's a roof design.
Roof design.
It's in progress. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Williams, is your light on?
Yes. Superintendent, this district is still self-insured, as I understand it, for health insurance with Cigna. And I'm asking, can you give us any information on where we stand? Did we meet the goal? Did we exceed? Did we make money? Did we lose money? And I'm asking that because that does have a direct impact on the premium that employees pay. So do you know where we are with Cigna as far as our health insurance carrier? Are we cruising right along, or are we making money off of it or losing money? Will there be an impact on the premium that our employees pay?
Go ahead, Mr. Langston.
I was about to say Tito Langston, Memphis-Shelby County Schools. Sorry, I was at the county commission till like 1:45. Sorry. Commissioner Williams, to answer your question, we are in a deficit for the insurance fund of about $7 million. But as you would note, one of our budget pressures is that the general fund will supplement the insurance fund. So right now we're in a year where we are looking at insurance. We're not passing along any extra premiums to employees at the current moment, but it is something that we're assessing. So as we get ready to look at insurance on the other side of next year, it'll be something that we'll have to look at closely, because right now, unlike years past, on the other side of COVID, insurance claims have gone up, and we're about $7 million, but it'll be supplemented from the general fund.
Thank you.
Because I worked with the district, we said that our insurance go up based on what they making lose. So how they just, how we not just mean about they pay all claims, but Cigna administers the claims. But teachers and people who work for the district pay a premium. They negotiate. They make money go down.
Additional questions on this slide? Okay. Early after-school programming, I think we've been very clear about extending or expanding or adding the late bus so that we can expand access to after-school and before-school programming. Those are our current numbers, doubling down on this to ensure that as many students as possible who would like to take advantage of participating in after-school and before-school programs can. And we look forward to monitoring closely what that impact is for students who are taking advantage of the activities that are being offered here as well.
Madam Superintendent, if I could ask one quick question regarding this. First of all, I think this was received both at the retreat as well as in the community of being well received item where students get to participate in these type of programs. My limited concern is if we see buses picking up 4 or 5 kids, on the large buses. If it's possible, either our existing bus contractor or maybe particular vendors in the community, maybe, Mr. Parliamentarian, I'm sorry, I can't hear myself. Sorry, but you could just let me finish. Sorry about that. But is there any way we can do, does it have to be the big buses versus vans? Is what I was trying to get at.
I can work with Mr. Wary to see what the best way forward would be here, but he's pretty much got a good plan going.
Okay, I trust the plan. I trust there is a good plan.
We do plan to monitor where there's just one here, one there, and see what that could look like.
And I guess that's the question: if our bus vendors only have the big yellow buses, or if there's other smaller transportation opportunities for students. And he is doing a great job. So thank you.
Madam Chairman, this is again an unprecedented investment. I know after school is important. I have 3 kids. Do we have any data? Do we have, where are we tying this to just to go out of as a new initiative? I don't think right now with the information that I have, I will be able to support this. And not because I don't care about after school, just because there's so many priorities. And just putting $14 million into something that we have never tried and that we don't know if it's going to work, to Commissioner Wood's point, if it's going to be taking, in some schools it may be a hit or miss. If we don't have enough people to do this work, it just seems that we're going all the way into something that could be received as a pilot in a couple of different places, and just $14 million is just a ton of money, in my opinion.
Are you asking what the data says for this? I think there's national
it's
data
more than-
that supports after-school participation, general just programming, in general just getting a student connected to an activity in school, just one, not just after school, but just one changes things for them, right? The school pride increases, their morale increases, their general performance increases, their attendance increases. This is from experience myself, but also I can get you the briefings or research papers that could support the same. But moreover, someone who's done this in the district years prior to my arrival will be the chair who served, if I can recall correctly, as an after-school coordinator, led that work in her school. So this wouldn't be new for the district. I think it would be a return. I've listened to leaders who said that would have been helpful for me. Even commissioners said a late bus would have been helpful to provide them transportation to and from so that they could have the opportunity to experience what their friends were experiencing. And so this for sure is a deep investment, and I'm confident that it is one of the right ones, but I'll pitch to the chair and she can share.
So I wanted to finish, and yes, and as you always say, is the priority over the priority of the priority, right? And I'm not saying it's not nice to have this. More than a question, it was just venting my point of view. We can find the data and we can make an argument just about anything, and this might very well be what my colleagues want to support. I'm just wondering if this is the wisest or the priority of the priority of the priority that we have to invest $14 million in.
And thank you, Commissioner Calvo. I just want to say, in working with the mayor and looking at the statistics around our youth and crime, I think it's an investment that we need to make as a district, because so many of our students don't have anything to do, but they have to go home because they have to ride the bus home. And so if we're willing to invest in allowing them to spend a little more time at school, to play basketball, to play soccer, who knows, that might be their scholarship to college. And so I think when we look at where we are in Memphis with working with more for Memphis, and we're looking at surveys come back, and they're asking for more for our young adults. Our legacy builders are asking for more from our superintendent. So I think we won't know what we can do sometime if we don't try. And so I'm just asking that we will continue to look at this, and we must invest in our future, and our children truly are our future here in Memphis. Thank you. Commissioner Love, Garcia, Coleman, Johnson, in that order.
Coming from a parent who has a daughter to play all types of sports, I know what the activity bus will do. My daughter is zoned to Bolton, and she attends Craigmont Middle School, which is 5 minutes down the street, because I go to her games. I go to the school. In North Haven, kids are being bused to Tresmont, and they don't have any way home. And it increases the livelihood of the students. So I am willing to take the big bets. I understand what Commissioner Woods is saying. If we have 5 kids, scale it back. But I am willing to take any opportunity to save our kids from unnecessary violence.
I just want to say, I provided a list of detailed questions about the budget, and I received all my written responses. I, too, expressed hesitation in this, but one thing that I thought was helpful is that when you try something new, sometimes new investments are going to be a baseline of understanding the impact. And that's how I think that we think about attendance, the productive time our youth have, and that collaboration and conversation that we're having with other elected bodies about what's the challenge we have in Memphis, both in real and our narrative, and having productive spaces for our youth is one of them. So I do think we're going to be in a data collection year about what this real impact is, and I'm excited to have a real target and evaluation process around that this year. But I appreciate you speaking up, because we should be critical of every dollar that goes into the budget.
And Dr. Fagan, I don't want to signal to our friends at the County Commission, as you indicated to us earlier today via email, is that we're moving in the right direction, that they are funding 2 new schools, one in Commissioner Calvo's district and one in Mrs. Love districts. And these are sizable investments that we haven't seen in decades. And so I don't want to be dismissive of that fact, but we also got to continue to take care of what we got. And I think it's no small task what you and this board is taking on to say, for now, particularly I'd say our, because they gave me a t-shirt as well, our fans in the audience, I reminded them before the meeting start, is that we're going to have to assemble that same energy when it comes to fighting for our facilities and improving these and improving our assets year over year. And they quickly responded that they're fully committed to that. So thank you, Madam Superintendent.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much for the, I was a student that used the activity bus. I mean, it was decades ago, not that long, but every day at 5:30 we would stay after school, and because I lived so far from where Overton was, the only alternative I had was to get on that activity bus. And so, and the fact that you brought the activity bus back, I mean, that was, it presented so many nice memories for me. And then the fact that you remember it as being called the activity bus. We want our schools to provide all of these services, but we don't want to create a way for the students to participate in it. So we have to find a way to get them to participate. And this is a perfect way to get them into these programs. And I'm a victim. I mean, not a victim, but I was one of those students. I was one of those students. I was a benefactor of it. So, I mean, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Let's do it. All right. Attendance. We've been a little delay there. It's okay. Deep investment here as we think about the chronic absenteeism rate. Excited to be able to roll out the actual strategy for you next month, as well as we roll into a new academic year about how we'll support this work. Had the chance to hear the update from the team about a vision shared, and so very excited about this, our Come to Win. Count on me every day to win strategy that's coming up around attendance, and this is part of how we will do that work with our attendance superintendent's liaisons, certainly our family engagement liaisons, not listed here, but who will also work with them will be our dean of students where those positions exist, our professional school counselors, and then certainly our graduation coaches. They exist as this kind of hub, if you will, that will have consistent conversations with each other and our families around how we better support our students in this regard. Questions about attendance? This is about $3 million that we're investing here. I think this, Commissioner Hewitt-Garcia, is an opportunity about the position. So we currently have attendance specialists, I think, and I think there was another name of attendance that was wrapped into enrollment and attendance or something like that in the C department. And so this is just attendance liaison. So that's what that particular position would be called.
That's really helpful. And if I remember from our retreat, not only does this benefit our students to increase their academic performance, but also because of how we are funded. This is actually a role that will pay for itself by increasing attendance and increasing our overall revenue to the district.
Absolutely. Our funding model, TISA, student-based budgeting model, however you know of it, is directly attached to attendance, certainly enrollment as well. And so as we think about the number of students and dollars, if you will, not to equate students to just money, but that is exactly the impact for each student that is missing a certain amount of days every 20-day period. And so this is certainly what that work focuses on. I think there's a light.
Have you had conversations with the state about the ASD schools returning
Specifically around?
attendance?
Yes.
Can you share that with me?
In terms of?
What you shared with the state? Because I was going to do, on my legislative agenda, to ask the General Assembly. You okay? Yeah. Hold your hand up.
Hello. Sure, I'm going to be a meme tonight, but hello. I don't know what happened, but I'm okay, though. Great question. You're asking specifically, you want to be able to add it to that legislative advocacy.
Because I don't want our great work to be, they are all our children. I don't want our great work to be diminished because the ASD schools have an attendance issue as well as ours.
So what you're generally speaking to, or specifically speaking to, is the ASD schools that we are receiving back, achievement school districts, have about a 51% chronic absenteeism rate.
Yeah.
So when you hear me saying the 51%, that's the greater need there. So that's what you're asking about, right? So have we had that conversation? I think the conversation continues, certainly as we think about our policy as well, but also the impact as we receive these students in. So yes.
How many attendance agents, specialists are you going to have?
So there will be one per, for these 54 schools. These 54 schools are in our SOUP schools. And so when we think about prioritizing the priority, we know that SOUP schools include schools that received a grade letter from the state as D or F. And this is specifically our schools that have a grade letter of F right now, as we think about expanding it across the district.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How many more slides?
This was going to be very brief, but you all are asking great questions.
They are great questions. I was going to, if I could just pause there and say, if we can continue, but based on the fact as I look at the board, oh, there's two more left? Okay, I'll just save it for then. It's good stuff, I promise you. But I do want to signal that we're going to have a budget meeting where we get the thumb up or down these decisions. And so I do want to get there tonight also. So thank you. Two more slides.
This was at the request of the board, to be very clear. So we just want to be clear. We can gloss if we'd like. These are the same slides. Deep investment in talent. Any questions about the deep investment in talent?
I asked a question that you were going to look into about the new school leader salary schedule with the 6.2 million. Do we have a maintenance of effort around assistant principals and principals when we increase salaries?
No,
Okay, thank you. To be clear, I support that, though.
I know. Good. Okay, and then finally here, as we think about our deepest investments across the board, $10 million in aligning our resources, as we talked about new positions or positions that are being impacted. So while that number sounds really large, 1,163, if you will, of that, now 503 are vacant. That means that 660 are filled. After we dwindle that down, the 156 of those that are third-year permit teachers, meaning they're in their third year on a permit, have not yet met the criteria as established by the state. And so that's 156 of those. 70 of those positions are our education support professionals. Those are the individuals who are in our classrooms where proximity is the mode of instruction. So that's 226 there. That leaves us with roughly about 400 or so. And then of those, if I had to answer the question, how many individuals are directly impacted, meaning on June 30th, they will have not had an offer for a direct placement, which means their position is concluded, and that number is around 237. As I offer that particular number, we have more than 200 roles that are posted on the website. And so I think earlier on I shared that anyone who wanted to have a job with the district could have a job. It may just not look like what you're doing right now or have that same title. And so you're looking at many of these positions here: graduation coaches, family engagement liaisons, instructional coach. We have our behavioral specialist, attendance liaison, our newest position and role as we think about establishing and deepening our commitment to leadership development and a pipeline there. Dean of Students will be required to have an administrator certification. And so that is hands-on experience in the role of a leadership position, leading right to assistant principal and then certainly principal in the roles there. And so that's how we truly grow our own. This particular role in the schools that it exists will have direct oversight over our specialized education assistants so that we are directly monitoring the work that is being performed there. Reset Assistants made the commitment to you all to keep the current roles that exist. Homebound teachers, certainly we can't do the work without them. Truancy liaisons, the hearing official, there will be 7 of those across our networks, one for each network that exists, to directly support the set of or the cohort of schools in that regard. And then we have principal coaches who will provide direct support to some of our schools that have a grade letter of F. Then we have enrollment advisors that will be across our networks to directly support enrollment as we seek to increase the number of students that we serve in Memphis-Shelby County schools. So just want to balance the way forward in terms of what the impact is, but also what the opportunity is that exists. Madam Chair, if you would like to open it to the board for questions, that concludes the presentation.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Love, followed by Commissioner Calvo.
Go back a couple of slides, please. I have a question. I heard that the pre-K department, a principal hires the teacher, and they are over by Devlin Gordon. I feel that the principal should be over them. He or she directs the school staff, not Devlin Gordon.
just to make sure I have clarity and understanding, what you've heard is that the principal might hire the teacher, but the individual that you're naming, personnel, is probably providing the guidance to the teacher rather than the principal.
Yeah.
Well, how you've shared it is how it should be, so I can look into that and have a conversation where necessary.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we go back to the slide where the magic happens?
Always.
Yeah, so I don't want to be labeled as the anti-activity boss guy, but I'm saying, hey, if this is where the magic happens, again, and I'm going to let it go. We'll go, as Commissioner Wood says, to the budget retreat on that, or to the budget meeting. But, my invitation here is to say, if the magic happens here, like, why not $16 million here, right? And I try that. Like, I just want to make sure that if that first thing is not working, that we can pivot. That because we know these 12 things, 15 things that you have listed here are working. And my second ask is, I think people are desperate to know that some of these, as some of these changes are happening, that we're not eliminating some of these offices, right? So obviously, as commissioners, we get all kinds of emails, communications, phone calls, texts, saying people, oh, they got rid of this office and they got rid of this other office. So we need to be able to explain to people, no, it got realigned, it got reassigned to the school. Like this office is not disappearing. We're not getting rid of this, we're not getting rid of that. So the more clarity that you can provide to us, the better that we can, the quicker we can approve a budget, that we can do these things. So I know this is happening on Thursday. I'm just kind of teeing you up on what I'm going to be looking on Thursday. And yeah, I love this, where the magic happens, right? Just want to say that. So I look forward for my colleagues and I to dive into those conversations on Thursday.
Which leads to my question, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair. We saw the big number that hit the media, 1,100 jobs being impacted. You have been very deliberate around where you can place people. While you admitted that created some heartburn for people that may have felt that their roles were being diminished. But at the end of the day, there is a number that you will present from 1,100 to a different number that ultimately are those who either by choice of not returning to the district or haven't been placed. What's that new number that's out there that's not 1,100?
Sure. What I walked through was from the 1,100 that we've shared, got you down to that ultimate impact number of about 237. And so I want to be, even more clear here, as you've alluded to, as I've walked through it with several of you today and in additional one-on-ones, is that the impacted, which is why it's called impacted personnel, means anything from a title change to a work site change, meaning you've been moved. So nurses moved everyone to a school, social workers and moved everyone to a school, school psychologists and moved everyone to a school. So the positions still remain. The department as it exists right now, the proposal is that that work takes place in schools. And so those individuals are impacted, right? And then certainly, what's another role? The hearing official by responsibility, that work is being carried out in general, but it does not exist in title. And so there are 7 individuals who are impacted. We look forward to supporting them if they'd like to continue the work as it exists in this particular title, but by general virtue of the name title changing to such a degree, they're impacted. So they're included in that number, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And it sounds you're reminding us that the total number of people that won't have a job come June 30th has been greatly reduced by the efforts of you and your team.
So yes, I think for the clarity and walking through it, for sure.
Okay.
So just generally sharing out as 1,100 caused the jolt to the system, but walking through how we get there, for sure.
And I want to hear you articulate out loud, because we've spent a lot of time on this, operational and academic impact gaps to the district, the back office. We spent a lot of time over the last few meetings being people-centric, which I think we should be, even as you push resources in building a student-centric system. It has to be a back office to perform the work, to make orders, to make sure that the engine runs well. Are you confident that with this budget that we still have minimalistic again, you inherit a system, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but based on what you inherited, you will be able to address operational and academic gaps with the reorg.
I think we have a phenomenal opportunity to streamline the way we provide the services. So we have a structural opportunity, right, to just really move the work where it needs to be done so that it can be properly monitored, so that we can ensure the type of operational excellence that we need can take place. And so as you see different positioning of spaces, and certainly as you looked at the list today and saw the redundancy in some areas, that work is being carried out by someone else or able to be shifted into a role that was generally light.
And what I want to signal, thank you for that, and I know there's still additional lights on my last comments, Madam Superintendent, is that over the last few days, again, if Commissioner McKissick was here, she reminded us that we need to continue to be student-focused. But as I said then, and I say now, I don't apologize for advocating for people who have spent decades here serving this district. I will continue to show a great deal of empathy. For those that I know that may not be back here at our July board meeting, I want to thank you for your service. Appreciate you for the work that you've done. But come this Thursday, Madam Chair, because I've went through each cut line by line, particularly personnel cut, and I worked really, really hard to disprove you on which of those positions should be in the budget or back in the budget. I know you and your team have done a lot of that work internally already. I would encourage my colleagues to mark their calendars to be back here on Thursday at 5:30 to continue this part of the conversation to either vote up or down the budget recommendation. And Madam Chair, that's going to be for you to decide, but I'm available Thursday to come back. Not saying to end the conversation, but I do want to prepare us. I'm not continue to talk, but because I have to leave a little earlier, Madam Chair, I'm availing myself. The county stayed up to 3 a.m. to pass this budget. I'm simply saying that let's plan to come back on Thursday to get our work done. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia, what's your line? And then Commissioner Bud.
I agree with Commissioner Woods on a 5:30 meeting on Thursday. I think, one, not only did I get my questions answered in writing, I actually got to see all of the questions that my fellow commissioners have asked. But I do think it is important that we take the time to still elevate some of those answers so that the public does know that we were asking questions about not just the human capital impact, but where does this work live? And we get clarity on that. And a lot of that has come through these position sort of realignment question or clarity we got tonight. But I encourage us to keep asking that. One thing, and I asked this to you last night, and I think it also should be a call to the public and where we are looking to invest but don't have the talent. Where are the gaps that remain, even with reorganization, that we need support on to better serve our students academically or otherwise?
Perfect. And yes, we talked last night. We still have gaps, and you see the positions listed here for nurses, social workers, school psychologists, speech pathologists. And so when we think about mental well-being and what that means, the highest, greatest opportunity here and one of our largest gaps that will remain unfilled without a massive support are in those areas. And thankfully today, just alone, 2 individuals who were impacted emailed and shared, hey, I'm a licensed social worker. Absolutely, we take you. And so looking forward to some of that continuing to happen, but that is our greatest need here. And then secondly, I spoke with you about our middle grades area. There's a gap there in terms of how we meet our literacy needs. We are losing too many of our students as they make the transition, or I could say not ineffectively make the transition to middle school. And I think we know the impact that has on high school and beyond. And so those are just a couple of areas in terms of gaps that remain, even as we think about the reorganization.
I think that's excellent. I know we have a director of partnerships office or executive director that's going to be leading how we work with community organizations or nonprofits, business with meeting the needs of our students. So I would encourage us to put that out to the community. What would help us solve this challenge? And there may be people who could help us start to grow your own in those roles, or think about policy or legislative advocacy we can take. and just put a bid out to what we need, so the community is aware.
Absolutely.
I would like to see a plan of the family and community engagement department, the homeless department. I would like to see a plan for that.
An org chart
A plan.
in terms of,
What the individuals are going to do, because
in that department, got it?
I worked hard for the family and community engagement to be expanded. I know the work. So I don't want that work to be eliminated.
So that work sits with Deputy Superintendent Dr. Whitelaw under Educational Services, but we can certainly get the plan to you. Only thing that we did with the department is extract what you hear or take out and make it a standalone, what you hear Commissioner Hewitt Garcia alluding to, and that's our partnership work, because that allows us to do some deeper investments and place greater focus there. And so we had more than 30-something applicants to the executive director of our partnerships department, and so the department is not eliminated. We just pulled out the partnership work, and that's especially as we heard from our nonprofit community, our business community, about, hey, we want to support the district, but there's a wall that we hit when we try to work with the district. And so that means there's a greater need, and we need to have dedicated focus. And so that's what that particular office will serve. The FACE department is not eliminated at all. As you can see, an expansion of the family engagement liaisons and that general work. And so certainly looking forward to providing you that confidence.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Fagans, I would love to get that information too, because, let me turn this on. That was a while back. I developed a relationship with the two principals of that school, Get Well and American Way. And they basically told me that they had a way, or they worked it out, where they had buses being dropped off at those hourly rate motels that were around there. Because a lot of the students, that's all they have the money to do, and that's where they have the money to live. And that goes into a larger problem, that we have an epidemic of homelessness. We have an epidemic of homeless families in this district. And I figured that out, I think last year when I went to my graduation at Overton. It was so many cars in the parking lot, and they were filled with old furniture that people had just taken with them because that was all they had to hold on to. So I would like to be included in that, and we can move on.
We're now on to the agenda of staff items. The first item on the agenda is 9.1.
Board Commissioners, we're recommending approval of a renewal contract for the Pursuit Center in the amount of $320,000. As you know, this is a program designed by the Division of Virtual Educational Logistics to reduce the rate of recidivism in juvenile offenses. This is the first-year renewal option under our current contract with the Shelby County government, with 2 additional options to renew.
Any questions, colleagues? 9.2.
This recommendation is for approval of the contract for Power School Group LLC in the amount of $2.278 million for a 1-year renewal. This is for the continued use of Power School, SIS, Power School Unified Talent, all of the bundle that goes with Power School. This is an approved single source vendor by the state.
I have one question about the Power School. Is there a correlation between the Power School products and how we use them and the impact on achievement, particularly with state achievement, state attendance?
So Power School would be more of that platform and how we monitor and manage like attendance and things of that nature. So direct correlation between performance, I can't support that. If we think about iReady and some of our other tools. I think we've had that
The
conversation.
Power School is only a mechanism to transmit curriculum. It doesn't teach anything.
So Power School, we wouldn't want to depend on Power School to teach us. Absolutely not.
What
Power
role
School
does
is
it-
like
what is
remember
its- what
you-
is- what is its specific role?
So remember the other day you lifted that someone had to manually take attendance in their classrooms? I told you I would look into that. So what the teacher should have access to is Power School to take that attendance in a system. And so that's what Power School serves us as. Any of our data, Power BI is kind of connected to that. It talks to it. So this is a tool for monitoring and tracking of information rather than providing a direct correlation to any type of academic performance. You're right. Yes, sir.
9.3, contract approval, PCG Ed Plan.
We're recommending the approval of the Public Consulting Group. This is for the amount of $419,971.68. This is aligned with Tennessee Department of Education. This is an addition to our data management system to support documentation of services that we provide to our exceptional education children, our multilingual learners and students there, Department of Curriculum and Instruction for our response to instruction RTI work as well.
Board Member Hugh Garcia.
In the positions changes, I saw a lot of RTI in the titles. We've talked a lot, I think last month, about the effectiveness of our response or intervention work. Is this required that we have this through TDOE?
Required for tracking purposes. I don't know that there's another effective way that has been presented. So required, I would not say yes, but I would say we do need something to effectively track.
But we are tracking the data of systems that we're not sure work.
That we're not what?
That were not positive work or measure the things that we need to measure. So does this system have the capability, if we shift gears in the way that we're doing intervention, if we choose another program, right? Can we use it with this system?
I think we can explore that particular question. So you're asking, just making sure I understand, if we use something else, can this system work directly with it?
Can we still track through this? Is this still a platform we can use?
I think we can explore that.
Am I asking the?
We can explore what that could look like.
Okay.
But generally speaking, I think you did lift the other day in committee, are we certain that this is an effective measure? And I think I shared with that, use this as a baseline year, and then on the other side, we can probably do more effective measuring.
Thanks.
I'm not going to touch it. I'm sorry. 9.4, contract approval, Pearson Ameswell Plus RTI 2A assessments.
We're recommending approval for a one-year contract with NCS Pearson. This is in the amount of $185,960 for the Ameswell Plus assessment platform. This is used to provide progress monitoring assessments for students in grades 4 through 12. It's also aligned with the State Department's response to instruction and intervention framework. This purchase is required since the State Department contracts with Pearson for the K-3 assessments, and it's aligned with the 2021 Literacy Success Act.
Board Member Woods. 9.5, contract approval, Curriculum Associates iReady.
Board are recommending a one-year contract, approval of a one-year contract to Curriculum Associates in the amount of $2.85 million to purchase the iReady assessment and intervention tools, the iReady Teacher Toolbox online learning platform. This is for grades K-8. We provide the universal screening assessments through this. There are additional curricular resources that are available through this to support intervention as well. This is certainly aligned with the State Department's RTI framework. This is also aligned to the Literacy Success Act requirement to utilize a state-approved vendor for K-3 universal reading screener assessments. This is a single-source vendor for this purchase.
(9.6) Contract approval, curriculum associates for Elevation Platform.
The recommendation is for approval to award and the contract to Curriculum Associates in the amount of $291,398. This is a purchase of Elevation Platform. This includes instructional strategies. It also provides the professional learning add-on component for our teachers and leaders. This is based on a cooperative agreement of a current contract for instructional materials and classroom teaching supplies and equipment.
9.7, approval, teacher tenure status change.
Recommending that the board approve the teacher tenure list of teachers. This is for the 2022-23. These teachers are changing career status from non-tenured to tenured status. We always award this year in arrears due to the timing of state testing data delivery. These teachers have satisfied all the criteria at the end of that particular school year, and they're now eligible to change their status after those test scores were received.
Do we have a list of those teachers?
Yes.
It's coming up on the screen. Superintendent, can we get a hard copy also for any board member that would like it?
I turned it off. Yes.
It's actually on the website.
She's asking for a hard copy.
Some of my colleagues are saying yes, so
yes.
we would like a hard copy also, please. Thank you.
Yes.
9.8, grant acceptance, Project Lead the Way grant for Hickory Ridge Middle School.
Commissioners, we're making the recommendation to approve the grant acceptance of $30,000 from Project Lead the Way. This helps us purchase the equipment, the curriculum, the general resources, and professional development opportunities for the STEM program at Hickory Ridge Middle School.
My soon-to-be son-in-law was a part of this, the grant, getting this for Hickory Ridge Middle, so congratulations to Hickory Ridge Middle School. 9.9, grant acceptance, Shrine School.
Commissioners, we're making the recommendation for approval of the grant acceptance for $33,625 from the Shrine School's benefactor, Shriners International. This will allow a purchase of new Apple laptops and iPad devices for teachers and staff at Shrine School. These laptops will supplement a set of Apple devices that are already in use on our campus, and this ensures compatibility with the district's network infrastructure with limited troubleshooting.
Thank you, and we would like to thank the Shriners. They are always doing great things at Shrine School, one of the schools that I have the privilege of serving in District 9. 9.10, contract approval, Christian Brothers University Professional Service Agreement.
Recommending that the board approves the Christian Brothers University Professional Services for the one-year agreement for the aspiring teachers cohort. This will allow us to support the preparation of 40 current district educators to obtain full teacher license in the district's most critical areas of need. That's our elementary K-5 space, our exceptional education, and this is in an amount not to exceed $737,740.
Board Member Huey Garcia.
I think this is an excellent program for increasing our teacher pipeline. Do we have other partnerships with CBU, and if so, are those working as well? Like, what areas are those in?
Yeah, so generally speaking, we do have additional partnerships. I think in reviewing the outcomes and the data that's connected to it, there's great opportunity to revisit that with the university and have conversations about how to strengthen the way forward.
Is it for teacher recruitment specifically?
Is this a professional services? Professional development, the other one. To professional development for teachers.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
Board Member Calvo, and then Board Commissioner, Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Madam Superintendent, I raised the question last time during the committee meeting. Big supporter of CBU. However, just want to make sure that we're maximizing. I know the University of Memphis had a Grow Your Own, and sorry, I got distracted. So I don't know if that's what you were talking about, the effectiveness. That particular program also offers a pipeline for teachers, and there are scholarships available for that. My understanding was that not enough people were applying for that. So just want to make sure that we are offering all the options to double up on this, and I'm happy to send you that information.
Absolutely. I think there's a meeting coming up with the university to discuss that specifically as well. It was generally in terms of participation.
Didn't we talk a little bit about going to Lemoyne on with this?
Spoke about including them in terms of supporting this work. Yeah, we thought about it and still considering it in light of accreditation as well, but certainly.
All right, thank you.
9.12, contract approval, Raptor Technologies for cloud-based, oh, I'm sorry, 9.11, budget agreement, Cognia.
We're recommending for the board to approve a budget amendment toward Cognia for $1 million for turnaround efforts resulting in Hawkins Mill Elementary School and Tresvant High School exiting the state's priority list.
Commissioner
Can you
Love.
say that again?
Yes, ma'am.
Loudly.
We're recommending that the board approve a budget amendment to award Cognia $1 million for turnaround efforts resulting in Hawkins Mill Elementary School and Tresvant High School exiting the state's priority list in your district, Commissioner Love.
Good job. I just want to give a personal shout out to Kanya and the principals and the teachers and the parents that did amazing work. And I ain't going to say that. The state got one thing right. Kanya was executed by the board member, parents, and teachers and principal. All four of them working together to increase the academics of the school. Thank you.
Now 9.12, contract approval, Raptor Technologies for cloud-based vendor management system.
The recommendation here is for approval of a contract to Raptor Technologies in the amount of $138,845 for integrated school safety software. As you know, that Raptor visitor management system is for all of our visitors across the district to utilize. This provides a software subscription to 166 locations. That's 4 early learning centers, 91 elementary schools, 27 middle schools, 37 high schools, and 7 administrator sites. This is a cloud-based visitor management software management system and includes additional features that helps us manage students, staff, and volunteers. Ultimately, the primary focus to emphasize here is we can identify and alert potential sex offenders that enter our school buildings. This is approved as a single source vendor.
Commissioner Love and Commissioner Calvo.
I don't see it on here, but the schools are going to get updated computers.
In terms of compatibility for this, are you asking will they, or are you saying they should?
Several schools reached out to me in my district 2 years ago.
Oh wow, Commissioner Love. Thank you for sharing. I can check on that. They haven't shared since I've been here, but we can check into it and see and make sure that they have what they need. Haven't heard any concerns about our Raptor system not working, so that's a positive thing, but I will double check. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to have just confirmation or clarification. What does Raptor do when a parent doesn't have a Tennessee issue ID or a U.S. government issue ID? This applies to immigrant parents, but also applies to just people who don't have an ID.
The question is, what happens if you do not have an ID for various reasons, right? Certainly immigration status, you don't have a Tennessee license. Deputy Chief Sanders, you want to speak to it?
Sure. So if they don't have a license, what we do is we, at best we can, try to obtain a name or date of birth, and we can try to then obtain some sort of identity on them so we can get them identified, and then we can run them through the system that way, via the name and the date of birth.
You just want to make sure that we balance the safety of our students while making our parents feel welcome, and of course that's something, because these systems could have flaws on that. Thank you.
Always.
9.13, purchase order approval, cyber technology piggyback agreement for safety and security upgrades.
Board Commissioners, the recommendation here is to approve the piggyback agreement between Omnia Partners and Wesco Distributors with cyber technology as a partner with Wesco Distributors. This is a reseller for a purchase in the amount of $522,940. This will allow the purchase of security access control equipment, licensings, and intrusion equipment, specifically for Fairleigh High School, and additional middle schools, high schools, and CTC locations. This is a part of Phase 2 security plan. Wesco was awarded the master services agreement with Omnia Partners, and they take care of the maintenance, repair, and the operation supplies and equipment as a partner.
9.14, purchase approval, W.W. Granger for conveyor belts and belt barriers for middle school, high school, and CTC locations.
Commissioners, the recommendation here is to approve the purchase to W.W. Granger Incorporated for $247,213, purchasing conveyor belts and belt barriers for middle schools, high schools, and our CCTE locations. This works in conjunction with our newly purchased walk-through metal detectors and X-ray machines. This is a piggyback on the state of Tennessee contract that currently exists.
9.15, contract approval, education solutions development for Apex.
This is a recommendation for the contract in the amount of $1.1 million to provide continuous maintenance and support for Apex. This agreement continues for a term of 2 years. The last contract was a single source procurement, which expires this year.
9.16, contract approval, Kev Group, Inc. for school accounting system.
The recommendation is to approve the contract for Kev Group, Inc. in the amount of $123,018. This is for school funds online software. This allows annual renewal to track the overall daily operations of the district's school accounting and auditing practices.
9.17, contract approval, Education Networks of America for voice, internet, cloud, and network services.
Recommendation is to approve the contract to Education Networks of America in the amount of $2.4 million to provide voice services, internet access services, virtual private cloud, VPN, and additional solutions for 2024-25. The procurement is under Metro Nashville piggyback agreement. This contract is valid through June 30th of 2026.
9.18, contract approval, CDW Government, Inc. for wireless access point license.
Recommendation that the board approve the contract to CDW Government in the amount of $409,143 to renew management and support licenses for wireless access points and switches for the fiscal year 2025. This is a piggyback from a current contract, software contract.
9.19, purchase approval, Thomas Consultants, Avery Jones, and CDW for Fairleigh High School, Tresvant High School, and Humes Middle School computer purchase score.
The recommendation is to approve the purchase to Thomas Consultants in the amount of $251,222 for Broadway Typewriter Company, doing business as Ari Jones Educational Solutions in the amount of $5,334, and CDW in the amount of $6,840. That's a total of $263,396 for the purchase of student laptops and the deployment of those services in laptop carts for Fairleigh High School, Tresvant High School, and Humes Middle School. This purchase includes 360 HP ProBook 430 G8 laptops at a cost of $697 each, 12 36-unit laptop carts, and those cost $570 each, and deployment services for each of those devices or all of those devices at a cost of $14 each, and then deployment services for 12 laptop carts at a cost of $24.50.
Commissioner Love?
Tito, you got an answer to the ASD schools giving back the money from COVID?
Commissioner Love, I do, and I
You
thought we
do?
sent. Yes, ma'am. I thought we sent it to you, but we'll send it to the entire board to show what we're expected to get back for all the ASD schools.
Yeah,
That made my day.
yes. It's a nice, beautiful handout, Commissioner Love. Yes, we'll get that to you tonight.
9.20, contract approval, Martin and White Mechanical, Inc. for Airways Middle School cooling tower replacement.
It's recommended that the board approve an extension of the contract to Martin and White Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $310,576. This is for the cooling tower replacement at Airways Invictus Academy. There's an existing contract that was awarded on February 1st of this year with a completion date of June 1st. The completion date of the contract should be extended or shall be extended to November 27th of 2024.
Yay! Evict us.
9.21, contract approval, A&B Construction Company for East High School bathroom renovations.
Board are recommending an approval of the contract to A&B Construction in the amount of $300,178 for the restroom renovation at East High School. The total amount includes a base bid of $270,435, a performance bond of $2,700, and an owner's contingency of $27,043.
9.22, contract renewal, Waste Connections of Tennessee for waste collection services.
The recommendation is to approve the contract renewal to Waste Connections Tennessee in an amount of $425,000. This provides waste collection services for all of our schools. Waste Connections was originally approved by the board on April 28th of 2020. This contract term was for 3 years with the option to renew for 2 additional one-year periods. This is the final year of the contract renewal, July 2024 through June 30th of 2025.
Board Member Calvo.
Madam Chair, on your transformational list, can we at some point start looking about recycling and doing something with all the waste? Yeah, I mean, this is what it is, right? But as we move forward, can we look about the option of recycling in our schools? I know that might come as an additional cost, but you know, we're getting the leaders of tomorrow ready, and just the second largest employer of the city, and we're not doing anything about that. So
That's important. Yes, sir. No questions?
No. 9.23, contract renewal, Republic Services for waste collection services.
The recommendation here is to approve the contract renewal to Republic Services Incorporated in the amount of $800,000 to provide waste collection for our schools. Republic Services was originally approved by the board on April 28th, 2020. This contract term was for 3 years with the option to renew for 2 additional one-year periods. So this is also the final year for this contract renewal, expiring June 30th of next year.
Are they generally the differences in the contract between the two vendors because of the number of schools? Are they roughly the same amount?
That would be accurate.
Okay, thank you.
9.24, purchase ratification, Federal Equipment Dealers, Inc. for Convention gas steamers.
The recommendation is for the board to approve the ratification of the purchase to Federal Equipment Dealers Incorporated. This is in the amount of $114,000 for delivery and setup of 5 convection steamers. 5 schools received 1 steamer each: Cape Bond Elementary, Chimney Rock Elementary, Mount Pisgah Middle School, Sheffield High School, Valentine Elementary. This purchase is based on a current bid for gas convection steamers.
9.25, approval Federal Equipment Dealer, Inc. for CNC freezer door installation.
The recommendation is to approve the award to Federal Equipment Dealers Incorporated in the amount of $164,289 for the purchase and installation of 4 freezer doors, which will serve in the event we lose freezing capabilities of one of the 2 walk-in freezers at Nutrition Services.
9.26, contract approval Power School Group for Alove budget software system. Alove, I'm sorry.
So this is to, the recommendation is to approve the contract for a piggyback agreement with Power School and the interlocal purchasing system for a 2-year contract to Power School in the amount of $493,425 per year for a total of $986,850. This purchase is for a budget software system and includes software hosting and implementation services. Power School was awarded a cooperative purchasing agreement. No, it's on. It's on here.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Woods.
Yeah, man, I'm just trying to get clarity on the justification for piggyback versus direct contracting with Power School.
What's the,
Commissioner Woods, in this case, this is a budget system that is kind of world-renowned. So in the system where we viewed many, and this one fit our recommendations. So what we did was take an opportunity to look at price, but also look at our partners who have taken advantage of a co-op agreement that allowed us to take advantage of this system like this instead of going through a full RFP process and landing on something that we more than likely may not like.
Thank you.
Thank you. 9.27, approval MACE lease renewal of Northwest Prep.
we're good. Yes. It was different in my packet, so you all have the correct version. The recommendation here is to approve the lease for Northwest Prep School property at 1260 Poplar Avenue to Memphis Academy of Science Engineering, MACE, for $295,247. This is for 1 year, or $24,604 per month.
Question or comment? Congratulations again, Michelle. Madam Superintendent, you know, the playbook that's often run by when we lease the space of charter partners is after years of leases, we typically have that organization's back before us wanting to capture credit for those years of leases in order to get a greatly discounted facility. I feel like with the work you've indicated around you know, our plan, our facilities plan, repurposing these facilities. If we don't have a plan to sell these to the current organizations that are there, knowing that they're going to go to Nashville typically and say, you know, we want credit for these investments. Was there any thought that went into a lower cost lease, and knowing that they're going to, again, be back in Nashville come January, talking about the capital needs of the buildings that that they have to cover also because of smart people on the team that says that if you want the building, then you know the risk that you're assuming. So I get that. But do we want to be? Is there a space to be thoughtful around? Perhaps we bend the cost curve of the lease because in the past we've only given them credit for the building when they come before us and making the case of, well, we've already spent X number of dollars, so why don't you give it to us? I know that was a long answer, but it seems that it would be to our advantage to like bend that cost curve on the front end, tamp down the noise in Nashville, and say, hey, obviously if the chiller breaks, you're responsible for it. We're giving you a cut on the rent costs.
So normally what they do, you're correct, they do spend some years paying some money to us, and they come back, and what we've done is given them credit in the past for capital expenses, not necessarily lease payment expenses. So if they fixed the chiller, because it says that in the lease, they are responsible for all capital improvements. So if they fixed the chiller, if they've put a new roof on it, then we have given consideration when they come to purchase the building. And you'll recall that these lease rates that you're seeing right now are a one-year lease for all of them, so that we can get to the point where we're developing the plan and everyone is aware of our leasing process going forward.
And thank you for that answer. And my only follow-up, are we consistent with all organizations that come before us to lease, regardless if it's a nonprofit, church, or charter school? We try to be consistent, right? So again, if we're before the state elected officials, we're able to say we don't treat charter schools any better or worse than anybody else that's using our spaces.
Right.
That's consistent. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Commissioner Hugh Garcia.
What's the total deferred maintenance on this particular building? And are we transferring that from our responsibility once we approve a lease?
So we don't have the report back on this specific building yet from the new assessment. The old value was, I believe, 6.9 million. And I do just keep it as a separate amount of buildings that we own but do not maintain.
Okay, so when we say the total deferred maintenance is 500 million, we're not including buildings that were not?
That 6.9 was included in that 500 million, yes.
Okay.
So at the time when the 500 million was done, we were operating that building.
If the building were sitting empty and a roof fell in, would we repair it?
Well, hopefully that won't happen. We do have insurance on all buildings, even our vacant ones.
Okay. To Commissioner Wood's point, I think anybody who invests or it leases one of our spaces, I think there is some risk they take and I think they're eager to invest if they know they have the potential to purchase a property, right? I think it's year to year when you're leasing space. It is like rent continuing to go up, or you have a landlord that says, no, that's on you, and your rent stays the same. So I think I do get Commissioner Wood's point, so I want us to be flexible, because ultimately I care about if this is a school that students are able to get a high-quality education and we're able to afford, anyone's able to afford to maintain a high-quality environment.
Thank you.
9.28, approval Journey Community Schools lease of Coleman Elementary School.
Recommendation is to approve the lease of the Coleman Elementary School property at 3210 Raleigh-Millington Road to Journey Community Schools for $152,269 for 1 year, or $12,689 per month.
9.29, approval Fraser Community Schools lease of West Side Middle School.
The recommendation is to approve the lease of Westside Middle School property at 3389 Dawn Drive to Fraser Community Schools for $272,796. This is also for 1 year, or $22,733 per month.
Commissioner Love.
Michelle, I would like to know the time frame of when you put the schools on the market and how many bidders have requested RFP.
On West Side in particular?
Coleman and West Side, because both of them are in my district.
Okay, so I'll have to get you the exact date on West Side when we had it appraised, because the process was and is currently that when we have an interested party, that triggers the appraisal. So that appraisal will give you the date, and I'll get that for you. And also on Coleman, I'll get that for you. We did advertise, you'll remember, we did advertise West Side, but West Side, Fraser Community Schools was the only offer received.
Because West Side shares the auditorium with West Side Elementary School.
Yes, ma'am.
And Bobby has been a great partner with us. He moved up his end-of-year activities so we could demolish Fraser High School. And he has been a great partner with us for as long as he has had West Side. The kids are zoned to West Side Elementary, no restrictions of the neighborhood schools. And that's how he is continuing to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
9.30 Cooperative Master Agreement Approval, Omnia Partners, Public Sector Incorporated.
The recommendation is for approval of the adoption of the master cooperative agreements by Omnia Partners Public Sector Incorporated. This is for 5 consecutive one-year periods. This adheres to the term of each master agreement for the purchase of a variety of goods, products, and services. A number of suppliers have entered into master agreements through our competitive solicitations, and the district is a participating public agency to participate and utilize these agreements for purchases. We may purchase these products on the same terms, conditions, and pricing subjects to the laws of the state of purchase. This cooperative master agreement's adoption approval adheres to the state's policy.
9.31 Agreement to administer the school lunch programs.
The recommendation is to approve the 2024-2025 agreement to administer the school lunch programs for the district. This is required by the School Nutrition Office of the State Department of Education. This approval of this, or the approval of this agreement, is required to continue reimbursements that we receive of breakfast and lunch meal services, including the school breakfast program and the National School Lunch Program.
9.32 Finance, June 2024 Budget Agreement.
Mr. Langston.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Commissioners, this is a budget amendment, our final amendment for the year. This is amendment that allows us to get ready for the audit. So what we're doing is realigning state functions to get ready to explain how our expenditures work in the audit. But we're also doing an increase. So first, this amendment authorizes a net increase to the all fund budget of $28,976,948. First, starting with the general fund will increase $11,207,650. Great news, we actually got the summer learning grant again this year when we didn't know if we would get it. So as the superintendent alluded to, we have students in the summer learning academy now. We're paying for it through this grant. Next is our non-federal special revenue fund. It increases by $4,689,971. We have a state special education preschool grant for $1.9 million. That makes up the majority of that. Lastly, our federal programs fund will increase $13,079,327. That's primarily because of 2 reasons. One, we mentioned Cognia. We pay for Cognia through the turnaround grant, which is the $1 million that we'll turn around and give to and pay through the state. And then finally, we have the Turnaround Action Grant. It's one of our grants for our priority schools. It's $7.1 million. I'll take any questions on the budget amendment.
Commissioner Woods.
Chief Langston, thank you for the update. Typically, this item often appears last item on the agenda. Folks are glazed over, often afraid to ask questions because everybody wants to go home. But so much of what we do operationally, where we put resources, are in that very short presentation that you have given. Not today, but perhaps, and I may be watching as a participant in the audience, but perhaps we adjust those presentations that we don't hear just about the dollars, but we hear more about the work. This budget amendment adds 30 positions to the central office. So there's no wow moment from the community, right? Like, oh, well, you're not doing your job. Wow, how did central office grow so, get out of whack? So a lot of that only happens, right, because of Tennessee law says that through budget amendments is how the board controls its personnel, controls its expenditures. So more commentary than anything else is that we should work collectively as a team, that we tell the story amongst budget amendments, that here's where these resources are going to be better utilized. And if there's any personnel impact that's worth noting, obviously I don't want to be here longer than necessary, but obviously I just think it's an opportunity for us to cascade the impacts of that budget amendment outside of just saving money or spending more money.
Noted.
Please respond. Yeah, sure.
Quick response, but noted, and also we'll be walking through the conversation in Budget 101 with how we do budget amendments. So that'll happen in Budget 101, and we'll get into some deeper thing in Budget 102, as the superintendent alluded to early last week.
Now, she says she's going to make sure that this board is well versed on how the budget works. So I appreciate the conversation today. Thank you.
So the recommendation is that the board approve the resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 budget.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I have two concerns. One has come to me from teachers who taught at the Tresvant and Hawkinsville School. They said that the I-Zone had just as great of a role in their successes there than did Cognia. So I wanted to make sure that I get that on the record for them. They are boosting Memphis-Shelby County Schools' own I-Zone training there. And in addition to that, there were two people who also text me since we've been sitting here, who have also received their letters of displacement tonight. I guess you all gave them a time to get it, so they did come through this evening, and I think you said the deadline would be by when?
Which deadline, Commissioner Williams?
For people who are being removed from their positions and whatever, reshuffled.
Which deadline, though?
I don't know what these people teach, but they've received letters as we were speaking tonight about their reassignments.
So our deadline to get those letters out was yesterday. Yes, sir. Our deadline to
All
get
right, well,
those out.
some came through tonight.
That's fair.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
9.33 contract amendment, A2H for the North Fraser High School Design Services.
Recommendation is that the board approves the amendment to the existing contract in an amount up to $1.95 million to cover the design services based on the updated construction cost estimates for the new Fraser Community High School project.
Commissioner Love.
Patrice, is that what you showed me in an email last week?
So the information that you see here is based on the update that was provided to the entire board at last week's committee meeting. So this is consistent with the information that was shared with the design team as a part of that. It could have been some information that I shared with you if you had requested it prior to that meeting.
Yes. Keith Williams, I know the I-Zone works. And it was not my intention to diminish the I-Zone work.
I don't think so. She just wanted it to be known. These were teachers in the I-Zone who said they gave their best effort out there and they shared the
I-Zone
success.
works perfectly. Cognia does too. But the I-Zone works perfectly. That should be a model for all districts experiencing academic loss.
9.34, approval ESEA and IDEA consolidated funding application.
So the recommendation is to approve the consolidated funding application and all subsequent addenda and amendments. We are required as a district to submit an application to the State Department annually in order to receive the funding attached to both.
We are now on to board items. The first one is 10.1, the 2024-25 board meeting schedule. There's a draft of the schedule for the work session and business meetings from August through July of next year. Commissioner Hewitt Garcia.
I know we're set to have our comprehensive facilities assessment back by the end of November. Based on the schedule, we wouldn't have public discussion around it until January, and I'm wondering if December does need some sort of meeting. I think early in the calendar that we all hold. I mean, I don't think we should have a Christmas time meeting, but considering that we may need that public discussion space, given the April 2025 timeline that we put out for a comprehensive plan. And so I just wanted to throw that in space.
Well, since I'm not going to be here, I'd say you guys can meet as often as long as you want. But thinking about the employees and their impact, I would just say, I would encourage board members to add another meeting to another month calendar and still give the people back that time. I think you can just double up, another month.
I agree with Commissioner Woods. But if you have questions or concerns, you can send them. She's not here to defend herself. You send them to Chair Green. Your recommendations or questions. Don't tell I told you, but send them to Chair Green. Commissioner Love.
Clarifying the question. Does the district authorize parent and teacher conferences, or do the schools authorize parent and teacher conferences?
Interesting, we just had the conversation. So that's district designated, the days that are on the calendar.
I would recommend don't do it on work session night or board business night. I can't be in two places at the same time.
We will definitely make that consideration.
Yeah.
As you know, the calendar itself is composed by a committee, and so certainly the calendar itself is every 2 years, and so as we approach that work, maybe you could be the board member that's appointed to be on that committee, and then you can speak as vocally as you'd like to underscore.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I got to look for 2 comments on the calendar, but I do think we should go ahead and work on a budget calendar by maybe our September meeting with our new board members, so we can set the expectation of what the process looks like. Go ahead and get retreats, dedicated work time planned out so the public can engage and we bring them along, and board members have the entire year to talk about how we're monitoring progress. So we don't need it in June or July, but I think once we have our new board set, putting that budget calendar out there would be great so we can hold all that time.
Yes, it comes right on the other side of August so that we can actually begin the work in September.
Okay. 10.2 policy manual biennial review.
Ms. Stewart.
Thank you, Superintendent Fagans. Commissioners, we have provided information for your review regarding the state-mandated biennial policy manual review. Included in the information packet that you received as a proposed timeline that we would like to review each section of our policy manual, starting with June, and that's the wrong page that we're looking at there. But it starts with June and it has a tentative conclusion date of November. And I know you can't see this, but there are blue boxes on it, so I'll just read it. For June, we are proposing to review Section 000, Internal Board Operations, as well as the administrative section, which is Section 1000. In July, we are proposing to review Section 2000, which is Business, and 3000, Support Services. In August, we would like to review Section 4000, which is Personnel. September, Section 5000, Instruction, and 6000, Students. In October, we would like to review Section 7000, which is School and Community. And in November, we would like to have a wrap-up and report out. Also in your packet, and that's the information that you just saw on the screen, we've provided information regarding Section 000 as well as 1000, and we've highlighted information or those policies that we would like for you all to look at more intensely during this review time. And I can quickly run through some of the policies and the reasons why we would like for you all to review these in particular, and Section 000 as well as 1000. The first policy that we're recommending that you review is policy number 000, school board meetings. The policy was last revised in September of 2023, and the recommended revision is just to clarify languages previously discussed with the board regarding who can call a special call meeting as well as an executive session. Policy number 005, method and election of board officers, was last revised in September of 2023. We just want to simply revisit this policy to look at the language regarding the time frame for the election of board officers. Again, Memphis-Shelby County Schools has an annual election, and in election years, the chair and the co-chair are elected in the first regular business meeting following the election of new members, which would be in August. The newly elected officers will begin their term at the conclusion of the regular business meeting in September. Knox County, as well as Metro County, has the same time frame. Bartlett, they elect their officers in the last regular meeting in June. Collierville, Millington, and Germantown elect their officers during the first regular business meeting in December. And again, we just want you to consider this information and just give us your feedback on it as to whether or not it needs to be revised or if you want to continue with the same time frame for the election of officers. The next policy that we've highlighted is
Ms. Stewart, can you pause
Yes.
1 second?
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
When do the city council and county commission elect their chairs?
I'm thinking, is it August? I think it's in August. I'm not sure, we'll have to check.
Okay, thank you.
The next, can I move forward? Okay, thank you. The next one is 0016, orientation of school board candidates. It was last revised in August of 2010. We're recommending that this particular policy be repealed because we do not provide any type of orientation or training to prospective board members. We only provide orientation for board members following an election. If you want to keep this policy, then we need to start providing that orientation and or training to those prospective board members. But right now, we haven't done that. I can't tell you when.
No, you haven't.
The next policy is 0018, board staff communications, last revised in October of 2015. We're recommending revisions to the policy as discussed during the board retreat with Superintendent Fagans earlier this month, and we do have this policy this evening for your consideration. The next three policies, policy number 0020, ethics, 0021, code of ethics, and 0022, Board Members Code of Ethics. All of these are TSBA model policies, and they all deal with board member ethics and conflict of interest. And we would just like for you to consider possibly combining these 3 policies into one. The next policy is 0027, Board Governance Business System Review. The policy states that topics for review during the business system review must be identified by December of each year. I don't know if this is a realistic time frame or not, so I just want you all to give consideration to this time frame that's outlined in the policy and provide us with feedback. The next policy is 0029, SES Theory of Action for Change. It was last revised in June of 2017. I'm actually uncertain as to whether or not the board is still under the theory of action. I know under the Memphis City schools, board members actually attended intensive training around theory of action, and I'm pretty sure that the current board and boards since the merger have not gone through any of that training.
Ms. Stewart, and so we're good with the review of those respective policies that will be reviewed with board commissioners in our one-on-one huddles to answer any questions that you might have, and then certainly lifted for work session upcoming meetings. What's not listed here and was requested and certainly will come before you as well is our attendance policy. There's been some updates there seeking feedback and including the same from our central office leaders, but more importantly our teachers, our principals, and how we can better lead through policy with our attendance. And so looking forward to bringing that to you as well to receive any feedback and support also in addition to those. So although it's a little out of order, it's priority as we enter this upcoming year. All right, we're safe to move forward.
Okay. The next policy.
Oh, no, with the
okay.
policy adoption.
Okay. So we have 2 policies before you tonight. The first one is 0018, school board staff communications. You all previously reviewed the draft policy during the board retreat with the superintendent, and we're bringing it before you tonight for your consideration. As a reminder, on page 1, we just lay out the expectation for the superintendent to formally communicate with the board on a weekly basis, as well as all information requested from a board member will be shared with all of the board members. The next policy is policy number 4015, acceptable use policy, as well as 6031, student acceptable use and internet policy. If you can recall, the General Assembly recently passed a law that requires all school boards to adopt a policy around the use of artificial intelligence, and we are also required to submit a report to the board on to the state on how the board will enforce the policy. Both the policy as well as the report has to be submitted to the state by July 1. So we're on a tight time frame with this particular policy. We incorporated language in these 2 policies around the use of AI for instructional as well as assignment purposes, and we just simply state that the board supports the ethical as well as responsible use of AI, and we authorize the superintendent to develop rules and regulations and other guidance around the policy. With this particular policy, we will have to ask the board to suspend the rules and to approve the policy on first reading in order to meet that July 1 deadline. And I did consult with TSBA, with Ben Torres, and our policy pretty much mirrors TSBA policy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. She's already covered 10.3, the AI policy adoption. Next is 10.4, resolution opposing Memphis Wrecking Company's landfill expansion.
So the commissioners, the landfill beside Whitney Elementary school has applied to expand the operation closer to our school. And so the height of the trash will now be higher than what is currently allowed, and it will also be closer to our property. And so we opposed this a few years ago, and I shared this with you via email as well. And so we're opposing it again in anticipation of the upcoming Land Use Control Board meeting on July 11th. We're just bringing again the resolution that was once brought by Commissioner Love, and Commissioner Love, at her request, I'll read it aloud. Whereas the Memphis-Shelby County Board of Education, hereafter referred to as the board, supports and advocates for all Memphis-Shelby County school students to learn in a safe and nurturing school environment. And whereas Memphis Wrecking Company has filed a requested amendment that would allow landfill operations to be expanded adjacent to Whitney Elementary School, and whereas the board opposes the landfill expansion as it would extend landfill operations to within 100 feet of the elementary school property, as well as affect the use of the public park behind the school, and whereas the board's understanding is the city's Unified Development Code requires a minimum separation of 500 feet between landfill activities and any school or park property line, and the proposed amended distance is well below the minimum distance required and unduly impacts the school community. And whereas Whitney Elementary was not built to serve as a buffer to an adjacent landfill, and whereas Memphis Wrecking Company appears to diminish the impacts of this landfill operation due to a lack of hazardous material processing, dust and noise from equipment operating on landfill property, as well as the potential for odor and gas leakage from deteriorating construction debris stored on the property, will likely disrupt the learning environment for students and negatively impact the school community. And whereas the board finds that the proposed increase in the maximum height of the landfill from an elevation of 290 feet to 370 feet is unacceptable, as the existing elevation along the east property line, the property line shared by the landfill property and the school park properties, has been estimated at 285 feet by city staff, resulting in the top of the landfill rising in height from slightly above the east property's line elevation under current approvals to towering 85 feet over the adjacent school and park property. And whereas in lieu of providing a 20-foot tall berm and maintained landscaping along the eastern property line as previously proposed, Memphis Wrecking Company is proposing a 100-foot wide tree preservation area with no provisions for providing adequate screening in the event of loss or diminishment of screening due to tree death or disease within said preservation area. Now therefore be it resolved that the board voices its opposition to the Memphis Wrecking Company's requested amendment that would allow landfill operations to be expanded. Be it further resolved that the board directs the superintendent to forward a copy of this resolution to the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board and Memphis City Council. Submitted this day, this day of June 2024. All the days are the same for me. What is the date? The 7th? 18th, the day after yesterday, June 17th, June 18th, by Commissioner Love.
I've been dealing with the landfill issue for several years. And I had a conversation last week with the principal, and she told me when they burn at the landfill, the rodents come into the school. It is so strong out there. The students don't have time to play on the playground, and she spends the most of her day freezing the school. So I would like if you all could sign on that. Show a united front. The landfill is adjacent to Whitney Elementary, but we oppose the landfill expanding. Thank you.
Commissioner Woods, Commissioner Calvo, Commissioner Johnson.
I'll go last because it's not related to this item, sorry.
Commissioner Calvo.
Yeah, please add my name to that, and any other efforts. If we need to speak in front of the board, I'm happy to do that as well.
Commissioner Johnson.
Mike? Y'all should tell me next time I get on. You know how I am when it comes to environmental justice, and so I'll be more than happy to sign on with that, with you. So.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia.
I just wanted to say that I wanted to express my support for this, and that this is so disheartening that our children have to come to schools and worry about the environment and the environment. And this wouldn't be a discussion and some other. You all email your land use control board and express your opposition with us, because this is not acceptable for our kids.
Chair Green.
Please sign me on, Chair Cole.
Sign me on. Now I turn it over to Commissioner Wood.
Thank you. Look forward to supporting this as well next week, Ms. Love, as we did last time. I just wanted to let you know, people are listening to the board meetings. They wanted me to give a clarifying on county commission dates for election. County commission during election year, it's in September. On non-election year, they vote for in July, and city council is in December. So to the listening public, we hear you, and please continue to fact check us and provide that type of information in real time. Thank you.
Email your city council too. All of them.
Therefore, being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.